And this edition of PA PoliChicks is sponsored by Hand Therapy Associates. Hello, everyone. We are back again with PA PoliChicks, where we will talk about everything and anything, everything from potty training to politics.
And all the people, personalities, and places in between. That's what we love about it. You know, the word poli, P-O-L-I. I'm a Latin scholar. Actually, I took Latin for 4 years in high school.
I did too. Stop.
Sister Mary David and the other great sisters at the Sisters of Mercy, they taught me that poly means many. So that's what this show is about. And we're chicks, and we talk, and we don't have any problem calling ourselves that.
We don't talk, we chirp.
We chirp.
We chirp.
Okay.
We have no problem referring to ourselves as chicks who chirp, and we will chirp about anything. And what we're going to chirp about today, we have some of these, don't we?
We do. I say Generation Z. It almost sounds like either a new class of car or maybe it's an ED pill, the latest edition. But they're people, and they're people. We have some of these people. They're folks who were born between 1996 and 2011. Well, we want to understand a little bit about millennials, what they like, what they don't like, what kind of jobs are out there. And on the line with us, we have someone truly wonderful. It's Masai Lawson. Masai is the Talent Acquisition Manager at Gannett Fleming. And Masai, I have to say, that almost sounds like you should be in Hollywood. Talent Acquisition Manager. Did you make up that name for yourself?
Actually, I did. I changed the title when I
did?
came here. It didn't sound sexy enough for me. So, yeah, I changed it.
I want to make up a title for me.
Well, hang on. What was the title before, Masai? I'm just curious.
Recruiting manager.
Oh, that's so boring.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds too militaristic.
Yeah. I like that title.
No,
what is it again? I want to hear it one more time. And say it with sass.
Talent Acquisition Manager.
Talent Acquisition Manager.
That's impressive.
Okay, so your job, first of all, Gannett Fleming has like 2,300 employees. You've got 60 offices domestically around the world, and you need to hire the best and the brightest. But you've had to first attract millennials here. Tell us a little bit about that group. What are they looking for in a company? What are they looking for in life?
Well, you know, it's been interesting recruiting again at Fleming. We've got multi-generations here. The millennials actually, they're unique in that they're not necessarily motivated by money. You know, they're interested in recognition. They're interested in rewards. They're interested in working for a company where they feel a common sense of purpose. The other thing that I think is interesting about millennials, it's different than, you know, previous generations, is I talked about this rewards and recognitions. If they're not getting it, they're not going to wait around for it. They know they're worth. Right? Yes, yeah. You know, they're not as impatient as people say they are. I think Gen Z is a little more impatient, to be honest with you. But
we're baby boomers, Flora and I.
Oh,
so
did you have to bring
money?
Did you have to bring that up? Show me the money. So you talked about the millennials, and you did say they're impatient, and I did notice, you know, those days of staying at the same employer for 20, 30 years, those days are over. It seems like they're switching jobs every 2-3 years. They're on to the next one. They're on to the next one. Do you see that happening with these millennials?
I do see it happening with the millennials, and it's affected every industry. It's affected our industry, and frankly, I've had to coach our hiring managers on really looking through a different lens. And not judging candidates based on the fact that they may have been with a company for 2 years. The days of people working for firms for 10 years, 15 years are over. You guys talked about the recession of 2008. That really impacted and it continues to impact the view that millennials and Gen Zers have on the loyalty to an employer. You know, I find it, of course, I'm making a generalization, but I find it interesting that hiring managers, you know, will rule a candidate out because they've only been someplace for 3 years. And I asked them, well, what were you doing 3 years after you were in your job? Did you feel challenged? Did you feel excited? The answer is maybe not. But I knew it was a good company. I knew it was a good job. I went to school. I had loans to pay. Again, millennials are looking at life and work through a very different lens than our managers are, who are in that baby boomer generation, ladies.
Right.
So what's the difference then between the millennials and the Gen Zs? Where do you see the difference with them?
I think that, there are a lot of similarities, I'll say that. There is a level of impatience, but I think Gen Zers have a bit higher expectation of not only the companies they work for, but maybe the brands they support. So if, for example, if the technology is not working the way that they want it to, they have this expectation that if it's not working, it must be broken. You broke a promise. I'm going to move on to the next one.
Oh, my.
It's so true.
Wow.
These are the digital natives, the Gen Z, which
Exactly.
means they're beyond, like millennials came up with Facebook. They elected Barack Obama as the first African-American United States president. They basically started out the internet. But now these folks are into the social media. They have this device attached at the hip.
Because you don't.
If you have a company and your stuff doesn't work on mobile,
You're
forget
done.
it. You're not going to raise any money. You're not going to be able to do anything. But one of the things I was curious about as a talent acquisition manager, what have you had to do with Gannett Fleming? And by the way, I should say that that company is a leader, a global leader in infrastructure solutions. So waterways, bridges, highways, all of that kind of stuff you guys do. What have you had to sort of convince the Gannett Fleming people to do, and probably other technology companies have to do, to get this group to want to come here and then to keep them here?
Yeah, engagement's really important, and really the ability to promote our values, our culture, focus more on that. The projects are challenging, the work that we do is interesting, but what these generations are looking for is a sense of connection. So transparency in very large organizations, particularly a conservative company like a Gannett Fleming, you have this hierarchy and sort of layers. We've had to peel those layers back and break down those barriers. And I think through the leadership of our current CEO and COO, we've really done a great job of doing that. So go ahead.
No, continue.
And also, the ability to, when we talk about engagement, well, how are we engaging people? So, formal and informal mentor programs is a great way to build connection. And also leveraging and focusing, I should say, in addition to leveraging diversity and inclusion. The millennial generation, the Gen generation, they're going to continue to become more and more diverse. And so we've actually made investments internally with training, and I've been actively engaged in that in training our hiring managers, for example, on unconscious bias.
That's so true. Masai, if anyone follows you on LinkedIn or looks at it, you're very much on top of that. And that is something that I think Flora and I both have experienced with our children who are in Generation Z. They have a global perspective, first of all. They really do care about what's going on, but they don't see colors in any sense as a barrier or relationships that people have. They really are very welcoming and very open. And I think what we've seen that them say, I want to have transparency. How about a paycheck? Isn't that good enough? No, now you want the company to be transparent. I don't even know exactly what that means. Right?
I've got to tell this story, and you chime in and tell me whether this is appropriate or not. A young lady, 25 years old, out of college, didn't have a job yet. She wasn't able to land a job. Her father says to me, will you talk to her? So I said to her, well, what happens? Talk to me about when they ask you questions during the interview. And she told me the questions that they might have asked her. And I said, and how about when they say to you, do you have any questions? And she says to me, she said, well, yeah, I want to know, is this company transparent? Well, my first reaction was, what? You asked them what? Because in my mind, in this baby boomer head of mine, the company doesn't owe you anything other than a paycheck. But you brought that word up. So was it okay for her to say, are you going to be transparent with me coming in as a new hire?
And what does that mean? Just so we're
clear. Absolutely, it's appropriate. The question is, was whoever was interviewing her, were they honest, right, with the answer? Or whoever answers that question, are they honest? One thing that's interesting about that generation, they ask the question because they want to know the answer to the question. And if you're not authentic, 6 months from then, they'll be gone. When we talk about transparency here, employees want to know how decisions are made. how is this person promoted into this role? How do I get a bonus? How do I sign up for more training? How is it decided you're going to expand into this market versus this market? How are we doing financially? They want to know what's going on. Going back to the things that their parents experienced, where they went in, punched the clock every day. Oh, by the way, here's your pink slip 30 days later. They don't want those kinds of surprises. And so that ability to communicate, that openness, that transparency is so important. And again, making sure they're engaged and to some extent loyal to you as an employer.
Well, I'll tell you what, as we were getting ready for this segment, I did a little research, and Emerson Spartz is CEO of the digital media company Dose, and he wrote, compared to any generation that's come before, they are less trusting of brands. They have the strongest BS filter because they've grown up in an era where information was available at all times. And I think that you've hit it on the head, Masai. These young people understand authenticity, that if I go to take a selfie, sometimes they'll say, stop. Just don't do it, because they said it just doesn't feel right for you. And one of the things you've written about on LinkedIn was it was about know yourself and be true. Self-awareness is really important. It's important for companies, and it's important for the individuals leading your company. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, the higher up the food chain you go, they say, the less self-aware you become, which is interesting. And I actually just took an assessment on self-awareness, and I'm pretty self-aware. I think as a recruiter, that's essential for me to be successful in my role. But individuals that aren't self-aware tend to not perform as well, because they're not accepted. If you're not being authentic or true to yourself when you're interacting with people, there's no trust there, or there's a lack of trust. Often people find themselves challenged who aren't self-aware to build real connection, to get things done, to have a circle of people that they can rely on when it comes to, getting the job done at work. So self-awareness transcends personal and professional, and I think that at least for me, from what I've seen, those people that are the most self-aware are the most successful individuals in an organization.
All right. So if any Gen Zers out there are actually listening to us, these two chicks, if there are any Gen Zers listening, what do they have to do to get that good paying job with a company like Gannett Fleming? What do they need to do?
Do their research, because it's not just about a good paying job. Not every company is going to offer you what you're looking for. It doesn't mean it's a bad company. So if you're interested in mobility, you want to move around, look for a company that's global. If you are looking for a company that is entering new markets, do your research. All that information is out there on the internet. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to reach out to somebody that's working at that company currently. And talk to them. And more often than not, they'll be honest with you. If you happen to get an interview, ask to speak to someone that might be functioning in a similar capacity to the role that you're interviewing for. If you're still in school or just recently graduated, check in with your alumni association. Look for people in your sorority or fraternity that might be working in the industry or for the company that you're interested in.
And you know what? If the boss is a baby boomer like me, send a handwritten note or some kind of letter.
Yes,
that just makes such a big impact.
Oh, it really does. I've actually seen candidates not be pursued for an offer because managers were, not excited about the fact that they didn't get that handwritten note. But you're right, It is generational. You do need to know your audience.
All right.
Well, that is Masai Lawson. She is Talent Acquisition Manager and our own star here in our galaxy. Thank you so much, Masai, for imparting all of your great advice to both to companies and to those who are seeking employment. You're just a wealth of knowledge. You can check her out on LinkedIn. I know that's where I see her post a lot of great material. And what is Gannett Fleming's website?
It's simply GannettFleming.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Masai.
You ladies have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening to us on this very lively edition of PA PoliChicks. And we want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you have questions? Do you have any topics you would like us to talk about? It's very easy. Just reach out to us. Send us an email at
PA PoliChicks at penwatch.org. That's PAPOLICHICKS at penwatch.org. We really do want to hear from you. We're all about engagement, transparency, and authenticity. You heard it here.
If there's Gen Z, are we going to go to Gen A, B, and C next? When
We'll
does this
explore that.
end?
We don't
It's
know.
madness.
We're running out of the alphabet, right?
We are.
We're done.
All right, I'm Flora Posteraro.
I'm Nell McCormack Abom. Until next time.